Okay, update on the bumper. It's early on hopefully my last day of this build, and I'll get everything done today. I unfortunately did not show a video of me putting on the bumper, but it was fairly straightforward, difficult in some areas. You have to take one of the bolts, 14 millimeters, and reverse thread it on either side on those plates on top of the frame rails. On this particular style bumper, you don't cut those off. You then guide it onto that. One thing, because I actually do have the skids from 4xInnovations, I had to take out all the skid bolts, and actually two of the bolts, I think the 10 millimeters, halfway through, to lower it about, I'd say, 3/4 of an inch, so I can actually guide the bottom lip of the bumper in between the skid and the frame, and then bolt everything back up. So if I was doing this over again, I would probably hold off putting on the skids. You know, if you got the skids and you got the bumper, just, you know, do it all at once. But I was a little bit anxious and wanted to put on the skids ahead of time. It wasn't that hard, it was just a pain in the ass. That's pretty much the only thing. The other thing too, this Warren EVO 10S is a little bit, sorry, getting in front of the light, is a little bit big for this bumper, and it was a tight fit. So I ended up having to get some different bolt types and thread the fair lead a little bit differently from reverse on the back side, and then bolt it from this side. It's not that bad, it works. Also, threading in the bumper, or threading in the winch to the bumper, oh man, that was tough. Ended up using a little wrench and got enough torque on it to thread to the bottom. But these holes here on the bottom for these nuts, they're not big enough for those bolts. You know, and Adam on his site didn't really list this one. The dimensions do fit, but it is barely. So what I'm gonna be doing today is I built a custom mounting plate for this control box. I've dismounted it from the winch also. I'm gonna mount it here, sorry, here behind this, and it should give me enough room. The only other thing that's okay is accessing the, like I said earlier, the clutch, which I can access pretty straightforward. Getting my hand in there, you know, I can do it, and that's from the front access point. I might get one of those remote clutch thingamabobs and get it in there. The winch works, it's all wired in. I'm gonna get some conduit and kind of protect everything and tuck everything away when I'm all done. But that's it. Update coming. All the lights work. Everything works as planned. So I'll show you when all the finished work's in place. Okay, here is the finished product, all mounted. So last bit of work I had to do was get the license plate mount in there so they can hang over the fair lead, and yeah, pretty much, you know, mount that control pack, which is right behind the grill, right in front of the radiator on a mounting bracket for the radiator. I ended up kind of using a piece of extra steel I had, drilling a hole in it, spray painting it black, and mounting that control pack against that. I'm going to get a remote control pack further and put it further back, but right now I think everything's fine. And another thing I'm going to do is put a battery cutoff switch for the winch. I just don't like having power to it all the time. But other than that, everything came out fine. So that is the Warren EVO VR 10S. Real big winch compared to what can fit in this bumper, but it does fit. You do have to relocate the control pack, like I said. Those are the Radiance rigid lights, floodlights, that are hooked up to the OEM fog lights that I mentioned earlier in the other video. Doing a walk around, everything I think came out fine for this being a hand done paint job and then top coated myself. So yeah, I really do think 415 is pretty awesome. So far so good. The walking around the vehicle to look at both the front and the rear, again, I think everything came out really well. There's the swing out tire carrier with the jerry can holder and the high lift jack mount. Their high lift jack mount is, you know, solid. That is not going anywhere. And again,
Really well done. Adam and the 4X Innovation team, I can't say enough good things about those guys. They really know what they're doing. They're super easy to work with. I mean, look at this. I showed you earlier the tolerances. I mean, my goodness. That is perfect. I mean, I've seen bumpers come out with like huge gaps. There is no gap, hardly whatsoever. It looks factory. So it was a learning experience. Be happy to answer any questions. I obviously did some things wrong and did some things right. And yeah, thanks everybody, and hope you have a great evening.